All right, before we do section 8.5, let's go over some problems from from the worksheet on 8.4. Okay, so let's just flip this triangle around like this, and all right, let's put some numbers in here and see what we get. This is 11 right here. This is x. It's a right triangle, and they say this is 64 degrees. All right, so here's the deal. It's not a special triangle, is it? It's not a 30, 60, 90, not 45, 45, 90. Okay, it's got a 64-degree angle right there. So we're going to use the trig function. Now look, if you wanted to, I don't know, for some reason, a lot of people like to always use this angle down here at the bottom of it. If you wanted to use that angle, you could. How would you find, if you wanted to, you don't have to do this, but if you wanted to, how would you find this angle right here? Just take it away from 90. That's the easiest way. Because remember, these two angles, these two acute angles always add up to 90 degrees. All right, so just take this away from 90. So what's 90 minus 64? 26, is that right? So if you wanted to, you don't have to, but if you wanted to, you could use this angle down here. All right? I don't know, some people feel more comfortable with using this angle than the one up top. It doesn't make any difference. But after saying all that, let's not use that one. Let's use this one, okay? But if you wanted to, you could use this. You're going to use a different trig function than what we're going to use, but it'll still work. In fact, maybe I'll do it twice just to show you you'll get the same answer. So let's use this 64 right here. What are we trying to find? We're trying to find x, right? So what is x? What is side x to this 64 degrees? It's opposite. What is the side that they tell you? It's adjacent. So which trig function uses opposite and adjacent? The tangent. Okay, tangent, T-O-A. Right? So let's do it. It's the tangent of what? What angle were we working with? 64. So it really matters what angle that you're dealing with, whether you're dealing with this one or this one down here. Okay, we're dealing with the 64, so it's the tangent of 64. Equals opposite over adjacent. Which side is opposite again? X. And which side is adjacent? 11. Now watch. One simple little math step, and we're good to use our calculator.
You don't have to use calculator. You just take one angle and then tangent.
And then, well, you do tangent because you have the opposite and the adjacent. And that's what you have to look for. You got to look to see which sides do they give you, right? What side do they give you, which is 11, and which side do you want to find? All right? Sometimes it's the adjacent and the hypotenuse. Sometimes it's the opposite and the hypotenuse. In this case, it's what? It's the opposite and the adjacent. Everybody with me on that? That's how I know to use the tangent, because it's opposite that I need and it's adjacent that they give me. So those are the two sides I'm working with. I don't know anything about the hypotenuse, do I? No. So I don't care about the hypotenuse in this problem. I just care about the opposite and the adjacent. Got it? Okay. So now we just do some math. We want to get x by itself, don't we?
So you gotta
keep the x there. It's already on the top. So right, it's being divided by 11. So what's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So that'll cancel out. If you multiply this side by 11, you've got to multiply this side. And I just put 11 out in front. That means it's 11 times this. Now look, the tangent of 64 is just a number that you get on your calculator. Let me grab a calculator. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to stick this into our calculator. Okay, don't leave it like that. Put it into a calculator and get a number. Okay, and they ask you to round it to the nearest hundredth, correct? So we're going to round it to 2 places. So get the calculator out. So we're just sticking this into a calculator is all we're doing. All right, so it's 11. Now on this calculator, I'm going to show you how to do it 2 different ways, all right? Well, I can only do it one way on this calculator. It's 11 tangent of 64. So I don't hit second function, I just hit the tangent, all right? This is not the inverse tangent, is it? It's just regular old tangent of 64. So tangent gives you parentheses, put 64. I like to close the parentheses. I don't think you really have to. But that's what this is right here. Hit enter, and that's our answer. Boom. 22.55. Does that 3 round that 5 up? No, it doesn't, so we just write 22.55. So x equals 22.55. It says rounded to 2 places, right? So we'll keep it 0.55. And that's how you find the answer. It's as simple as that. You could have done it another way. It's not really much different. Remember I said you could find this angle down here? So what would this angle be? What did we say it was? 26? Now watch, I'll just do it real quick. Now take a look. What is the 11 to the 26? Now the 11 is opposite, not the x, to the 26. You with me? What is the x to the 26? It's adjacent. So I'm still going to use tangent, aren't I? because I still have opposite and adjacent. But I'm using the 26 this time. I just want to show you that you could do it this way and still get the same exact answer. All right? So don't flip out and say, oh, Mr. Hammer, you're showing us too much. I can't handle it. All right? You can handle it. It's not that big of a deal. So tangent of 26 is equal to opposite over adjacent. Actually, this is going to be a little bit tougher, to tell you the truth. Because what's different about this compared to what we had over here? The x is on the bottom now, right? Okay, the x is on the bottom. But I'll show you it still works out the same exact way. This way right here is a little bit better because the x was on top, but we can still work it this way. We've done this before. Okay, Cliff, you watching all this? All right, wake up. Look at this. I want to get x on the top. So how do I get rid of this x? I got rid of the 11 by multiplying, so how am I going to get rid of the x? Multiply by x. So multiply this side by x and multiply this side by x. Do you see it? That cancels out. Now, I got to get x by itself. What do? I have to get rid of this tangent of 26. So I divide. That's right. So x is going to equal what? 11 divided by the tangent of 26. That's one little extra step that you have to do. But I'm just showing you that you're still going to get the same exact answer. So let's see. If you don't believe me, I'll keep that number right there just to show you. So this time we're going to go 11 divided by what? The tangent of 26. So tangent of 26. Everybody see that? Hit equals. Look at that. Isn't that impressive? Same exact answer. All right? So it's 22.55. There are times where that's about your only way to do it, okay, is to do it this way. All right? So we used the angle they gave us. That made it a little easier, right, because x was on top. But you could use this one, but the x would be on the bottom this time. What if, watch, what if they gave you the problem and they gave you this as 26 degrees? To make it a little easier on yourself, you might have done what? Found this angle and put the x on the top, right? But if you think about it, though, that's still another step, right? So you save a step from this, but then you gain a step by trying to figure out what this angle is. So either way, it's just about the same amount of work. So I would, if I were you, I'd probably just stick with the angle that they give you and just go from there. Make sense? There are times, I don't think they ask you, nope, they don't ask you on this worksheet, but there are times where they will say, solve the triangle. Solve the triangle. What do you think they're talking about when they say solve the triangle? Find all the angles and all the sides. Exactly right. Solve for everything that's missing. All right. Tell you what. Let's just for fun, let's do another one. Okay. Number 7. Okay, we can do that. Let's see. They kind of rotate it around a little bit. Let's see what they do. Let's try to draw this the way they do it. So if I reflect it and then I twist it like that. Oh, I shouldn't have reflected it, should I? Well, let's reflect it back. Transform, reflect. Alright, that looks, yep, that looks pretty close, doesn't it? I'll tilt it just a little bit more. Alright. So this is what, number 7? Alright, what I'm going to do now, though, I'm going to solve for the whole triangle. I'm going to solve for everything, not just what they ask for, so solve the triangle. Is that alright? Even though they only ask you to solve for one thing, I want to solve for everything. So that's 25, that's 30, and this is ABC. A, B, C. Alright? I think they ask you to solve for what?
B.
B? Yep, solve for B. But if you wanted to, watch this. Let's solve for AC first. I know they don't ask you on this problem. I'm just doing this just for extra practice, all right? What if they ask you to solve for AC? What would you do right off the bat? You don't even have to know these other two angles. I could solve for AC right off the bat. Give me the name of the method. We learned a method. Look, I got a right triangle, don't I? I don't know. I'm asking you. Pythagorean theorem. That's right. Okay, it's a Pythagorean theorem. So let's call this x. So how are we going to write this out? X squared plus 25. How do you know 25 and not 30? That's right, because the hypotenuse has got to be the one by itself, right? So these are the two legs, right? You square the two legs and then add them up, and that equals the hypotenuse squared. So 30 squared. Okay? Watch this. I'm going to just go 30 squared minus 25 squared. You see what I'm doing there? Just subtracting 25 squared from both sides. So now I'm going to put all this into my calculator. What do I do to get x by itself, though? How do I get rid of that squared? Take the square root of it. Okay? So really, that's what I'm doing inside my calculator. I like to do it all in one shot, don't you? Watch. Square root gives you a parentheses. Let's put all this stuff in here. 30 squared minus 25 squared. All right, close that parentheses. See, it's taking the square root of all that stuff, isn't it? Hit equals, and there you go. 16 point, let's say 6. Is that all right? 16.6. That's what x would be. You all right with that? Okay. So that's part of it. Remember, we're solving for the whole triangle. We're finding all the missing parts. That was a missing part, so we had to find it. Now let's solve for b. Let's just use the two original numbers that they give us when we solve for b. So let's just pretend we don't know this just yet, okay? So if I want to solve for angle b, what sides are the two sides that they give me? What is this side right here to angle b? It's adjacent, right. What is 30? It's hypotenuse. Which trig function uses adjacent and hypotenuse? It's the cosine, right? You with me on that? So that's what I like to do. I like to write it down and say, okay, which trig function works with adjacent and hypotenuse? The cosine does. So which angle was I working with? B. So it's the cosine of what? Angle B. Everybody with me? Is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Which one was the adjacent? Which one is the hypotenuse? 30. Good. Now, from here on out, this is just calculator work. I'm going to write it real nice. How do we get rid of the cosine? We talked about this a couple days ago. You got it. Exactly right. You do the thing with the inverse in the second, okay? So, here, watch. We don't divide by the cosine. People like to divide by a cosine, but that doesn't make any sense. You can't divide by a cosine. Cosine's not a number, right? It's just a word that represents a certain ratio between the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. It's not a number. But I can get rid of it, though, by taking the inverse of it. So I take the inverse of this side. Remember, we write it to the negative first. That means the inverse. Okay, and then you just plug that into a calculator. Look, you're using a calculator anyway. You don't even have to simplify 25 over 30, do you? But what we're going to do is we're going to hit, let's clear this. We hit second function, cosine, right, of what? 25 divided by 30. All right, and then you hit enter, boom, there it is. And we're just rounding it to 1 degree, so 30 or 1/10, I mean, so it's 33 point what? 0.6. Well, on this calculator, this is how you do it. I'll show you how to do it, or I'll tell you how to do it on the other calculator. I forgot to tell you that earlier. Make sure you remind me after we finish this up. So it's 33.6. Yep. So B is 33.6 degrees. It was 33, wasn't it? Yep. All right. Does that make sense? So there's your answer for B. It's 33.6 degrees. Now look, without doing any trig at all, I should be able to find what angle C is equal to. It's real simple. What's the easy math that I can do to solve for angle C? I know this angle right here.
Subtract it from 90.
You got it. Subtract it from 90. Remember, these two acute angles right here always add up to 90, don't they? Why do they add up to 90? Because if these two add up to 90, then you add this to 90, guess what all of them are? 180, right? So all I got to do is take this away from 90, and I've got this. I don't have to do any trig at all. So I'm just going to go 90 minus, let's just do our rounded version, 33.6. And then there it is, 56.4. So that's this answer right there, 56.4. Now they didn't ask you that, did they? They only asked for this. But we did a couple little extra things. All right, it's good practice for you, I think. Plus, it was kind of fun too, wasn't it? Yep. On the regular calculator, yeah. Let's do. What, this? This one right here? I would do this. If I had a, when I say regular calculator, I'm talking about a TI. What is it, 30XA or something like that? Okay. So if you have a TI 30XA, then this is what you would do on this calculator. I'll just write out all the steps. I don't have one on the computer, no. I should get one. I don't know if they make one. The only calculator I've ever found is that graphing calculator. They could make this. I don't know. So anyway, let's watch. Say what? No, I didn't. It's free. So this is what we would do on a TI 30 XA. All right, you would go this. You would go 30, and then you'd hit the square button, which is x squared. Everybody see that? And then you'd put minus, and then 25 squared, which is looks like that. And then what I would do is I hit equals. Everybody see that? Okay. And then you get some number. You get some big old number, right? And then what you do is you hit the square root button. Now, I think on your TI 30XA, I think it has its own square root button, right? I don't think you have to hit second. Okay, I think it has a square root button on there. Okay, and then you hit square root, and then you should get actually 16.6. Do you? Try it. Go 30. Yep. Go 30 squared minus 25 squared equals. Then hit square root. Right? It's kind of like you're doing things backwards, right? You're not doing the square root first. You're doing the stuff in there, and then you're taking the square root of it. Like right here. What would you do first here on a TI 30XA? You wouldn't do the inverse first. You would do the division first, right? So you go 25 divided by 30, hit equals, get a number, and then you would hit second function cosine, and you should get 33.6. Try it. Okay, you got to practice this stuff. A lot of you guys think, oh, I could just use a calculator. That's easy. Well, when you get into complicated stuff like this, it's not always as easy as you think. All right? So make sure you practice using your calculator. I know it sounds silly, especially after I harp on you guys not using calculators for every little thing. But this stuff, you need a calculator. You have to have one. All right? Back in the old days, back when I was in school, the old days, yeah, when we didn't have shoes and they didn't have air conditioning and they didn't have buildings. We had straw huts and stuff. Not really. But anyway, back in the old days, they would have they'd have charts in the back of your book. Are you listening? Shh, 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 shh. They'd have charts in the back of the book, and they would tell you what the cosine of certain angles were. So they would have like the cosine of 33 degrees was point blah blah blah, and then they would have the cosine of 34 degrees and 35 degrees and 36 degrees, and they give you 4 decimals, and you'd have to kind of guess in between, what it was. So yeah, but now you got calculators right in your hand. I was just kidding. All right, so we actually had buildings when I was growing up. Wow. You act like I grew up in the 1800s. Yeah, they had buildings back. They had buildings in the. My goodness, before Christ was born, they had buildings. For goodness sakes. Okay. All right. I'm not that old. Let's see. I think that covers it, don't you? Yeah. Okay. Let me show you something real quick. Okay. This is section 8.5. Still got your notes out? All right. So section 8.5. Let me do something real quick. What they're going to do is they're going to give you some word problems. I'm not going to give you many, okay? There's not that many on this, but tell you what, hang on just a second. All right, forget what I said about doing section 8.5. Let's take a look on your worksheet. We didn't quite finish yesterday the worksheet, did we? So look at page 26. I gave you all the answers, didn't I? Yeah. What I want you to do, since I went through these, and you might have had a little struggle with 9 through 14 on page 26, I want you to spend about the next 5 minutes, okay, looking at 9 through 14 and working those out, okay? So spend about the next 5 minutes, work on 9 through 14. If you got them wrong yesterday, I want you to get them right today. All right, so go through them. If you didn't try them yesterday because you didn't know what to do, now's your chance because I just went through how to do all this stuff. So I'll give you about 5 minutes to go through it, and then we'll go over the answers. Page 26, right here. See? It's not in the book. It's the worksheet. It's the worksheet, page 26, 9 to 14. All right? So spend about 5 minutes, go through those, make sure you got every single one right. And don't just look at it and say, well, he read the answer off, I wrote it down, so I got it right. No, that doesn't count. I want you to know how to do the problem. So go through them and do them. All right, let's do number 10 from that thing I asked you to do. This is 63 degrees. This is 12, and this is x. All right, so we're using this angle right here. So So let's figure out which trig function we're going to use. Now look, this 12 is what to this 63? It's opposite. This x is what? Hypotenuse. So I've got opposite and I have hypotenuse. Which trig function uses opposite and hypotenuse? The sine. Okay. So it's the sine of what? Which angle were we working with? 63 degrees. Equals the opposite. Which side is opposite? 12 over x. Can't have x on the bottom, right? So what are we going to do? Watch. No, not multiply by 12. You want the x. No. The 12 is going to stay there. You want to get rid of the x. Let's move the x from the bottom to the top. So I multiply this side by x, and I multiply this side by x. All right? So I don't want the x on the bottom. I want it on the top. How do I put it on the top? I move it to the other side, right? If it's on the bottom here, it's going to be on the top on the other side. Now, how do I get rid of that sine of 63?
You
Okay, divide it. That's right. Because the sine of 63 is just a regular number in the calculator. So I divide by the sine of 63. So x is going to be what? 12 divided by the sine of 63. Okay? Now, that's calculator territory now. So it's 12 divided by the sine of 63. Sine 63. And then equals 13.5, right? Is that the answer I gave you? Oh, I'm sorry. It's rounding two places, isn't it? Yeah. 0.4 what? 7, right? Because that 7 rounds that 6 up. So you're right. So let's. What did I say? 4.7. Okay. So that's how you find it, just like that. That's about as hard as these get right there. Okay. When you have x on the bottom. When you have x on the bottom, that's about as difficult as they get. But it's only 2 steps, right? Multiply by x, divide by 63, bang, you're done. Got it? Let's do one with where you had to find the angle, and then we'll quit.
I want to do some more. You got homework for us?
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, what?
I'm running out of worksheets. So they only give you so many of these things. I guess I could probably find something online if you wanted some. Yeah, I'm going to take this today. But let's do, I don't know, let's just do number 14. Let's do 14. Okay? Everybody watching? Let's do one more, just so we get this stuff clear. And let's go. Alright, this is 19. This is 22. And you're solving for this angle right there. You guys watching? What's that?
I'm trying to find B, which is at the top. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, why do they put an X there? That's weird, isn't it? You're right, they do put an X there, but then they ask you to solve for angle B. That's kind of weird. So really, this has nothing to do with anything, does it? Alright, so this is what we're trying to find, angle B. We're trying to find this angle right here. So look, I got opposite and I have what?
Adjacent.
Adjacent. So which one is opposite and adjacent? Tangent. So the tangent of angle B equals opposite over adjacent, right? Opposite 22 over adjacent 19. Now look, how do I get B by itself? If I'm trying to find the angle, that's when I do what? That's when I do the inverse. That's right. So it's the inverse tangent of 22 over 19. Calculator. Right? So I hit second function tangent of 22 over 19. And boom. There it is. 49.2. Is that the answer?
Good job.
49.2 degrees. Alright, that's it. Let me have those. Let's have No, don't save. 2 separate piles. One for page 26 and one for page 27. Okay, put it right there on the table.